I thought I had found my happiness, a home, children, love. But behind the perfect picture hid lies, betrayal, and late-night disappearances. When I saw his truck parked outside another woman's house, something inside me broke and awakened. I didn't just walk away, I was reborn. This is the story of how betrayal shattered my world so I could build my own, stronger, brighter, and real. Before I continue, please support me with a subscription and a like, it means a lot to me. I'm hollow inside. It's like my emotions have been scraped out, leaving nothing but a dull ache. I've been carrying this weight for months, and now, I'm finally letting it spill. This is my story, raw and unfiltered, from the heart of a woman who thought she'd found her place in the world, only to watch it crumble. My name is Sarah, and this is how I learned the cost of trust. I used to be a graphic designer, hustling through deadlines and client meetings, but last year, I traded that life for one I thought I wanted, a stay-at-home mom. My fiancé, James, and I welcomed our daughter, Lily, in June. She was a tiny miracle, with eyes that seemed to hold the whole universe. James had a son, Ethan, from a previous relationship, and I embraced him as my own. He'd wrap his small arms around me, calling me Mama, and it felt like I'd finally built the family I'd always dreamed of, a real home, something I never had growing up. Adapting to this new role wasn't easy. I'd spent years juggling projects and late-night coffee runs, so trading that for diaper changes and laundry was a shock. James worked long hours as a night shift supervisor at a logistics warehouse, so I handled everything else: the kids, the house, the meals, his packed lunches. I'd even drag him out of bed each evening, a task that felt like wrestling a bear. He'd grumble, snap, sometimes yell, as I juggled dinner prep and bedtime routines for the kids. If he overslept and was late, somehow, it was always my fault. Still, I pushed through, determined to make it work. James wasn't perfect. Early in our relationship, I'd caught him sending flirty texts to a coworker, and once, during my pregnancy, I found evidence of a one-night stand. Each time, I forgave him. Why? Maybe it was the hope that he'd change, or the fear of losing the family I'd built. Maybe I just didn't know how to walk away. Whatever the reason, I stayed, pouring my heart into our life together. After Lily was born, things seemed to stabilize. James got a promotion, then another, bringing in more money and strutting around with newfound confidence. I kept up my end, cooking, cleaning, packing his lunches, waking him for work. But one night something shifted. I was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of chili, slicing tomatoes for his sandwich, when a prickle ran down my spine. Call it intuition, a gut feeling, but I couldn't shake it. I tried to focus on the kids' laughter in the living room, but the unease grew. That night, after James left for work, I tucked the kids into bed and called my neighbor, Mia, to watch them while I went for my evening jog. I ran through our quiet suburban neighborhood, past neatly trimmed lawns and glowing porch lights, until I reached the wooded trail nearby. As I looped back, my heart stopped. There, parked in the cul-de-sac near the community park, was James's truck. Not at the warehouse, not on the highway, but here, a stone's throw from our house. My stomach churned. I checked my phone. His location was off. He'd insisted we share locations to prove his loyalty, so why was it off now? The next morning, James came home earlier than usual, carrying a bouquet of roses and a new bracelet for me. His smile was too wide, his voice too cheerful. I played along, thanking him, but my mind was a storm of suspicion. While he showered, I grabbed his phone. My hands trembled as I scrolled through his messages. There it was, texts with a woman named Chloe, who lived in our neighborhood. "Can't wait to see you tonight," he'd written. "Gonna make it quick but worth it." They'd met at the community barbecue 2 days ago. My heart shattered. He looked me in the eye, eaten the dinner I'd cooked, taken the lunch I'd packed, and lied to my face. I heard the shower stop. I slipped the phone back and forced a smile as he walked out, towel around his waist, chatting about his long night. I nodded, my voice steady, but inside, I was unraveling. I felt nothing, just a cold, empty void. The next day, I watched him sleep, sprawled across our bed, oblivious. That night, as he prepared for work, the same gut feeling hit me. I checked his phone again. More texts to Chloe, planning another rendezvous. I decided to play his game. I packed his lunch with care, but this time, I spiked his thermos with sour milk and laced his sandwiches with hot sauce so potent it could strip paint. I crushed expired yogurt into his salad and smiled as I sealed the container. "Have a great night," I said, kissing him with a sweetness that hid my rage. After he left, I went for my run. Sure enough, his truck was parked in the same cul-de-sac. Something snapped. I sprinted home, my breath ragged, and grabbed every foul thing I could find: spoiled eggs, ketchup, mustard, leftover gravy. I stormed back to his truck and unleashed chaos. I smeared condiments across the windshield, dumped trash, dirty diapers, moldy bread, coffee grounds, into the bed of his truck. I stood back, panting, staring at the mess. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. The next morning, James came home, his face a mix of fury and confusion. "Some kids must have trashed my truck," he muttered, scrubbing at the stains. I sipped my coffee, nodding sympathetically, while inside, I felt a flicker of satisfaction. He never suspected me. For weeks, I kept up the act, watching him, waiting for the next lie. Each time I caught him sneaking off to Chloe's, I'd find small ways to retaliate: salt in his coffee, a forgotten alarm, a misplaced key. I wasn't proud, but I wasn't numb anymore. I was awake. One night I followed him. I parked a block away and crept through the shadows, watching as he slipped into Chloe's house. I stood there, heart pounding, until I couldn't take it anymore. I went home, packed a bag for me and the kids, and left a note. "I know everything. We're done." I drove to Mia's, my hands shaking on the wheel. The next day, I filed for custody of Lily and started looking for a job. Ethan's mother agreed to take him back full-time, and though it broke my heart to say goodbye, I knew it was right. The days after leaving James were a blur, like moving through fog. I'd wake up in Mia's guest room, Lily's soft breathing beside me, and for a moment, I'd forget the wreckage of my old life. Then it would hit me: the lies, the betrayal, the truck covered in my rage-fueled masterpiece. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd let it get so far. But I didn't have time to wallow. Lily needed me, and I needed to rebuild. Mia was a godsend. She'd make coffee, listen to my rants, and distract Lily with silly games while I searched for freelance design gigs. I'd always loved creating, turning chaos into beauty with a few clicks and strokes, but I hadn't touched my portfolio in over a year. Dusting it off felt like rediscovering a piece of myself. I started small, taking on logo projects for local businesses, but each job gave me a spark of purpose. I wasn't just a mom or a scorned partner anymore. I was Sarah again. Still, James loomed like a shadow. He called endlessly, leaving voicemails that swung between apologies and accusations. "Sarah, I messed up, okay? Let's talk." Then, "You can't just take Lily and disappear." I ignored him, but the guilt gnawed at me, not for leaving, but for Ethan. Saying goodbye to him had been like losing a limb. He'd clung to me, confused, asking when he'd see me again. I'd promised to visit, but his mother, wary of the drama, kept her distance. I couldn't blame her. One evening, while Lily napped, Mia sat me down. "You need to face him eventually," she said, sliding a glass of wine my way. "He's not going to stop until you set boundaries." She was right, but the thought of seeing James made my skin crawl. I'd spent months bending over backward for him, only to be played for a fool. Still, I needed closure, and Lily deserved a father who'd at least try to be decent. I agreed to meet James at a coffee shop in the next town over, a neutral spot far from our old neighborhood. I arrived early, clutching a latte, my nerves jangling. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. His usual swagger was gone, replaced by slumped shoulders and dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man who'd been caught and didn't know how to dig himself out. "Sarah," he started, sitting across from me, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. His voice cracked. But I stayed stone-faced. I'd heard his apologies before. Chloe was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Then why? I cut in, my voice low but sharp. Why lie to my face? Why make me wake you up, pack your lunches, while you snuck off to her? The words spilled out, years of frustration boiling over. Heads turned in the coffee shop, but I didn't care. James stared at his hands. I don't know. I got caught up. The promotions, the money, it went to my head. I thought I could have it all. He looked up, eyes pleading. I love you, Sarah. I love Lily. Let me fix this. I wanted to believe him, to think we could salvage something for Lily's sake. But I remembered the texts, the parked truck, the way he'd come home smelling faintly of perfume. You don't love me, I said quietly. You love the idea of me, the woman who keeps your life together while you do whatever you want. That's not love. That's convenience. He flinched, but I kept going. I'm done, James. You can see Lily, but it'll be on my terms through lawyers if we have to. I'm not your maid or your doormat anymore. I stood, leaving my half-finished latte, and walked out. The air outside felt cleaner, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried too long. Back at Mia's, I threw myself into work. A local bookstore hired me to redesign their branding, and the project consumed me. I'd sketch late into the night, Lily asleep in her crib, the hum of the suburbs outside. The bookstore's owner, Clara, became a friend. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, with a sharp wit and a knack for seeing through people. You've got fire in you, she told me once, reviewing my mock-ups. Don't let anyone dim it again. Clara's words stuck with me. I started to see my worth beyond James's betrayal. I wasn't just surviving, I was building something new. I saved enough to rent a tiny apartment downtown, a cozy space with big windows and room for Lily's toys. Moving in felt like a victory. I hung my old artwork on the walls, pieces I'd created before life got complicated. Lily's giggles filled the space, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was home. James kept his distance, mostly. He'd pick up Lily for weekends, supervised by his sister to avoid drama. I used those hours to network, attending design meetups and pitching to bigger clients. One night, at a gallery event, I met Alex, a photographer with a quiet charm and a laugh that made my stomach flip. He asked about my work, not my past, and for once, I felt seen as Sarah the artist, not Sarah the ex. We exchanged numbers, and though I wasn't ready to date, his texts became a bright spot in my days. But the past wasn't done with me. One night, as I jogged through the city park, I saw a familiar truck parked near the old bandstand. My heart lurched. It was James's, unmistakable with its dented fender. I slowed, peering through the dusk. There he was, leaning against the hood, talking to a woman I didn't recognize, not Chloe, someone new. My first instinct was to storm over, to unleash the fury I'd felt months ago. But I stopped. This wasn't my fight anymore. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo, not for revenge, but for myself, a reminder that I'd made the right choice. I turned and ran home, the city lights blurring past. When I got back, I texted James a single line. I saw you. Don't lie to Lily like you lied to me. He didn't respond, and I didn't expect him to. That moment was a turning point. I realized I didn't need to prove anything to James or anyone else. My life was mine now, and I was filling it with things that mattered. Lily's first words, late-night design sessions, coffee with Clara, tentative flirtations with Alex. I started teaching art classes at the community center, sharing my love of creation with kids who reminded me of Ethan. Each small step built a bridge to a future I hadn't dared imagine. Months passed, and my freelance work grew. The bookstore project led to a contract with a regional chain, and I hired an assistant to manage my schedule. Lily started preschool, her chatter about finger painting and new friends filling our evenings. Alex became a steady presence, joining us for park outings or pizza nights. He never pushed, but his quiet support made me feel safe in a way I hadn't in years. One evening, as we watched Lily chase fireflies in the park, he took my hand. "You're incredible, Sarah," he said softly. "You've built something real." I smiled, my heart full, and squeezed his hand back. James, meanwhile, faded into the background. He'd show up for Lily's visits, but his charm had lost its pull. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved on to another relationship, then another, each one unraveling in the same pattern. I felt no satisfaction, only pity. He was trapped in a cycle I'd escaped. One crisp autumn morning, I stood in my apartment, sunlight streaming through the windows. Lily was at preschool, and I was finishing a design for a new client. My phone buzzed, a message from Clara, inviting me to speak at a local women's art collective about resilience through creativity. I laughed, amazed at how far I'd come. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. As I sipped my coffee, I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago, numb, betrayed, pouring condiments over a truck in a fit of rage. That Sarah had been broken, but she'd also been fierce. She'd fought her way out of the dark, and I was proud of her. I looked at the photo on my desk, me and Lily, laughing in the park, Alex's arm around us. It was a small moment, but it held everything: love, strength, possibility. I'd learned that trust is a fragile thing, but so is hope. Both can be shattered, but both can be rebuilt, stronger than before. I'd lost the family I thought I needed, but I'd found something better, myself. And as I stepped into the day, sketchbook in hand, I knew I was ready for whatever came next. My story wasn't over. It was just beginning.